So welcome to another installment of this series on trauma and our reactions to it. So we've been speaking about trauma, the causes of dysfunctional families, this sort of thing. And then we were talking about the 4Fs, these main ways we have of reacting to trauma: fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, which is another word for pleasing. And today I wanted to focus in on the pleasing type. Pleasers, appeasers, fix, rescue, overgiving. We'll explore what it is, but if you're listening to this video, you're probably one of the pleaser types. You're more likely to be doing that. We can do a bit of all the reactions, but we tend to predominate in one. And why I say you're most likely to be a pleaser more than anything is because pleasers tend to be able to carry a lot. A pleaser is actually someone who has a good core strength, a good, what I call a personality structure that can hold a lot, even as a young child. And so the pleaser type is someone who, even at a very young age, is carrying a lot, can hold their feelings, can carry that emotion. The problem is we're still a child. The problem is we're still trying to get connection. We need connection with our caregivers, whoever, for our survival. And so it's a better problem to have, and people who are pleasers tend to be better candidates for therapy because there's more strength, more maturity, more capacity to face these difficult shadow aspects, these difficult emotions that are stored inside. So if you're a pleaser, welcome, and I welcome you into the therapy of this space. I also welcome you into the guided process we'll do after we've covered a bit more theory today. So let's talk a bit more about what the pleaser is, what it looks like. And so the fawn, the pleaser, it's a survival reaction, it's a trauma reaction, it's a way to try to get a better deal from parents, caregivers, whoever. It's a way to try to elicit a better response, and it usually works to some degree. Maybe people don't attack us quite as often, or maybe they're slightly nicer to us. It may not be great, but it probably helps a bit. And what happens is our subconscious notices that improvement very quickly. It notices the first repetition of that. Oh, that works. And so it encourages us subconsciously to keep doing these things. And so by the time we finish maturing, finish childhood, this can be such a deeply ingrained pattern. So what's it look like? Pleasing, overgiving, very good at reading the room, very good at empathy, very good at kind of tuning into other people's needs and moods, very high degree of sensitivity and empathy. Lots of giving, lots of fixing, pleasing, rescuing, always jumping in to kind of make things better. I call it over responsibility, so we're taking responsibility for ourselves because we're carrying all our own feelings, but we're also taking on other people's stuff. I mean, even in the womb, it's very interesting doing deep hypnotherapy. You get back in the womb, and often the baby, the embryo, the fetus, even at that stage, we can be working hard to make mother feel better, taking on her mood or whatever it might be. And so this stronger person who's a pleaser, it can lead to things like enabling. We're enabling someone who's not behaving well, perhaps, to not step up, take more responsibility. Because someone was asking the other day, it's very common for the pleaser, enabler, fixer to be a magnet for someone who's under-responsible, for someone who's not owning their shit, someone who's not holding their own emotion. And we're talking generally about kind of weaker people who just can't do that. It's too threatening, too uncomfortable, and so they tend to project and blame. They're more the fight type. They're more the narcissistic type. So the enabler, the fixer, often winds up in a codependent, what they call a codependent relationship, where it's not a healthy independence, two people sharing from independence. It's more like, well, I need your approval to feel okay, so I'm going to give and give even though I'm getting nothing back. and we get left with a very unhealthy dynamic. Oh, there's so much to unpack here. Just to max this out, just so you really understand the kind of terrain of this. And like I say, it is the good problem. It's the better problem to have as a trauma reaction type or as a defensive reaction type. But if you dial that up, we're talking words like enabling, that's not a favourite word of mine, but they used to categorise this. They don't tend to use it now, but you go back a few editions in DSM, Diagnostic Statistics Manual, that's American kind of pathology labels, which I'm not a big fan of, but let me tell you the definition of the old self-defeating personality disorder. Self-defeating personality disorder. It was actually labelled as such. And the sort of characteristics included in that condition were things like negative self-references, so being very hard on self, feeling the need to humiliate oneself, putting oneself down. There's cognitive patterns around finding oneself undesirable, not good enough, unworthy, over-expectation of rejection or failure. More clinical versions of this, a reluctance to seek pleasurable activities, even though we're capable of pleasure. We don't seek out things that we enjoy or make us feel good. An encouragement of others to exploit or take advantage of oneself. A focus on one's very worst personal features, that's that cognitive attitude, and a tendency to sabotage one's own good fortunes. It's like we can't tolerate good things. So that's fairly heavy duty. That's the sort of real pointy end of it, when we just can't enjoy anything. But if we look at what's going on there in our psychology as the pleaser, you can tell I'm more the pleaser than the fighter. But so that's what I'm saying, we. But you think about it, if we're hoping for a better connection from our caregivers, if we're giving and working really hard to get that better connection, and yet there's someone who's not capable of better, well, we're going to tend to guilt. We're going to go to self-blame. See, the child's not old enough to realise that, oh, my parent is a weak, immature, narcissistic type. You know, we've got to hope that, oh no, they love me unconditionally. They wouldn't withhold that to hurt me. They wouldn't do that to hurt me. Oh, it must be me. It must be my fault. You get it? The over-responsible. And so we're working, we're hoping, we're giving in the fear that we're not going to get connection, and that's our survival fear. That's our worst fear as a child, is abandonment, neglect. That's death for a very young child, remember, being left in the bush somewhere. And so we're giving out of that fear, but we're not getting what we need. We tend to go to guilt. We tend to blame ourselves. There's a lot of shame in it, and this is what the diagnosis was talking about before. You know, if it's really severe, we would say it's all very negative self-talk, self-referencing, very low self-worth, self-confidence, self-esteem. That's the guilt part of it. And of course, there's a lot of sadness, grief, isolation in that. It's a lonely space because we're not getting the quality of connection we need. And then the other aspect of it, which I always invite people when I'm working with to get to, and it's really can be the hardest thing to get to, but that's the anger. That healthy resentment, that healthy rage, that anger that says, hey, I'm working so hard to get your love. I'm working so hard to get connection, and you're still, neglecting me or abusing me or whatever. And so the anger, the resentment, the fury builds up in the background. Rage, rage, rage. I've got to watch my language here. I'm going to say it anyway. I call this the give, fuck you dynamic. Because that anger will be building up in the background. And it will show sooner or later. Most please types are strong enough to not go around thumping people. They don't tend to do that. There's enough empathy or too much empathy to go around actively hurting people, although it can come out in, more passive-aggressive ways. I notice that as like a cold anger, but it tends to go to more withdrawal. But the other thing with that anger too is that's been inverted as well. So you see what happens? The pleaser type is carrying everything. She's carrying the fear, They're carrying the guilt, they're carrying the sadness, loneliness, grief, and they're carrying the anger as well. It all tends to be inverted in. Oh, we're opening up so much here. I know there's so much to cover here. But this is why the stronger pleaser type also tends to be the scapegoat in the family. Tends to be the emotional dumping ground for often everyone else, parents, siblings, you name it. There's, usually one strong scapegoat in that family system. Okay, so how's this all sitting, guys? This is challenging stuff, and it's so common. I come across this. I'm working with so many people on this because, like I say, it's the better problem to have. To be strong enough to carry all that means you're strong enough to do therapy. Therapy is very uncomfortable. A lot of people just can't do it. They might try, they can do counselling, keep it superficial, but when we get into the depths, can't do it. Their reactions, their psychological defences won't let them go any deeper. So, do you relate to this? Can you identify with this? Are these words resonating for you in some way? If so, well, congratulations. It's a better problem to have. So much more to work on here, and obviously in individual work it's all tailor-made. Everything's tailored to the individual, so we go into more specifics if you like. But I think these general broad brushstrokes of theory, of understanding are very useful, and this is all street smart stuff. This is not so much book stuff for me. This is 30 years practice stuff. So I may not be as researchy and scholarly as some psychologists, but I've got the experience to lend the language to it and the knowing around it. So let's jump into some process here, and I'd invite you to just give yourself 5-10 minutes here to drop inward and get yourself comfortable in the chair. Close down the eyes if you wish. You don't have to. You can kind of gaze off into middle distance if that feels more comfortable. But however you do it, just giving yourself permission now to turn your awareness inward. And I'd invite you to deepen the breath, extend the breathing, take some nice long, deep inhalations, long, relaxing exhalations. Really noticing the breath, really tune into the breath. Just feel the support of your chair, the sofa, the bed, whatever's supporting the body. Feel that complete support for the physical. And as you drop in, I want you to imagine walking down a beautiful path in a garden somewhere or in the bush, near the beach. It's a beautiful sunny day, lovely warmth, slight coolness to the breeze you can feel on your face, on your skin. And as you walk down your beautiful path, you've got the place to yourself at the moment. Just enjoy the colours that come to your awareness. Maybe the blue of the sky. Maybe the green of the trees, the grass. Maybe you can see rocks or water, the ocean. And as you imagine yourself walking down this path, I want you to know that imagination is the language of the subconscious. So this is all helping you to go deeper into your subconscious mind-body right now. And you turn a corner on your path, and there in front of you is your own inner child, a younger part of you. Might be older, might be younger, might be a teenager, might be a baby. They might be happy, they might be sad, but just notice them, get a sense of them. You might see them, you might hear them, you might just sense their presence somehow. But here they are, and you welcome them forward. In fact, you go up to them and connect with them in whatever way feels comfortable. You might just look them in the eye, you might hold their hand, you might put an arm around them, you might give them the biggest hug, whatever feels right for you in this moment. And as you connect with this wonderful, precious, beautiful part of yourself, you might like to sit down somewhere on the grass with a view, under a tree, near the river, overlooking the ocean. You get to choose a beautiful place to sit together. And what if you were to explain to your inner child what we've been talking about today? Just explain to them how, hey, you're just a kid. We were just a little helpless child, a dependent child. And we did what we could do to get a better deal, to get more love, to get more attention, to not get so much that's not love or abuse. And what we did was the strongest strategy. We became the pleaser, we became the fixer, the giver, the one who carried everything. Maybe we even parented the parent. But that time is over. Because we got through childhood, we survived. Here we are today. I'm here with you now as the adult you. And I want you to realize that strategy, while it helped us squeeze some more juice out of that lemon, it isn't necessary now. We don't have to do that anymore. We don't have to chase love from another person, not anyone. Obviously not from parents, not from family, not from a partner, not from kids, not from anyone. Because we're not a child anymore. We're an adult. You've got me now as the grown-up you to look after you. And I'm here now to be the good parent to you. I'm here now to share all my strengths and resources with you. To share all my love and wisdom with you. To give you everything you are chasing out there. Well, forget that. We don't have to do that anymore. From now on, we do this in-house. From now on, I'm going to be the source of everything you need. And just notice how your inner child's responding to this. Are they taking it in? I'm sure you've got their attention. And you just keep reinforcing it. Yeah, this is the truth. Time's gone past. Childhood's over. We're in adulthood now. It's been however many years, how many decades. We're not a dependent, helpless child anymore trying to get better from others. We're an adult now and we can do this within ourselves. I'm going to be the source of all the love and support you ever needed. I'm going to be the one giving you that care, that kindness, that loving attention, those fun moments of laughter and joy of sharing. I'm going to give you all of that just because I can. We're that powerful now. And taking a deep breath. And just notice how this is feeling inside you. Notice how this settles in. How's your inner child feeling? How are they looking compared to 5-10 minutes ago? What's this like for the adult you to realize that you can change what's going on deep in your psychology, deep in the body-mind? You might like to set an intention to play with this. You can repeat the audio from this recording here. You can just do it in your own space, make it up in your own way. Play with it. I encourage you to practice it. It's such a powerful technique, and it's really at the very heart of our therapeutic healing and growth. So feeling the child now merging back inside. Give them a big hug, feel them settling back inside, and just notice how they look and feel compared to before. And it's time now to gently bring your awareness back into the present. You might imagine yourself finishing that walk in nature. You might imagine yourself now just gently bring all this that you've done today with you into waking consciousness. As you deepen the breathing, gently soft eyes opening when you're ready, coming back into waking consciousness. Here you are, deep breath, fully awake, fully alert. So well done. Hope you found that very helpful. In fact, it can be very powerful to do that, especially the first time. And I encourage you to repeat it. You can't overdo it. Even if it's just a minute a day, you keep doing that for a month, your life's going to look very different. Any questions, any comments, any feedback, it's appreciated. Subscribing, following, signing up for my email, that's all appreciated. That encourages me to keep doing this offering on these different platforms. And yeah, any questions, feel free to email or tag a comment somewhere along the line. So lots of love, my friend, and we'll see you next time.